IVM.
I get positively excited about paying my credit card bills nowadays. And it's all because of Cred. Cred offers the best products and experiences to those who do good. And you can do good by just paying your bills on time. Plus, Cred reminds you when your due date is approaching and also checks your bills for hidden charges. It's so amazing. So don't miss out. Just download Cred today. Hey guys, welcome to the Positively Unlimited podcast. I take a certain pleasure in saying that every time I sit to record an episode. It's almost as if you guys are here with me and talking to me and interacting with me. And that is all thanks to the many, many DMs that I get from you saying how much you enjoy my podcast and how much certain episodes have helped you. So please keep those coming. I love reading them and I love responding to them, especially through last year and this year, through the lockdown. Each one of those messages has made my day, my week. Well, I'm recording for our current series of A to Z, which is all about work-life balance, and we're on the letter L. Want to think for a moment what word I may have chosen? It's one of our favorites. It's almost like a trend word. It's even a hashtag, and God alone knows how many books do we have with this word in the title. The chosen word, the chosen perspective for this episode is leadership. And I'm going to start this episode off with a truth bomb. Every manager or CEO is not a leader. Forget about a good or a bad leader. I'm saying that every manager, every team head, every CEO, every managing director, whoever is in those top supposedly leadership positions, well, many of them aren't leaders. And here's the thing. Just because your ambition is to become a CEO or your ambition is to own or build an X kind of a company or empire does not mean that you are a leader. For one to be a leader, you have to have some very specific qualities. And no, these qualities are not about nature, not something that you're born with. They're definitely things that you can learn. But leadership is going beyond your ambition. Yes, leadership is going beyond what you want, beyond what you want to achieve, beyond what you want to enjoy. It is beyond your personal individual definition of success. And this is where a lot of us falter. Why? Well, as leaders, we fail because we don't know how to think about somebody else. We don't know how to think about our team. One of the basic principles of leadership is you grow only when your team grows. And what does this mean? This means that sometimes you have to look at somebody in your team and say, you know what? I know you are great on this team, but my team doesn't have the right opportunity for you from here on. And so I'm recommending you to another team with a step up. Or looking at somebody and telling them that, look, this company cannot fulfill what you want to achieve. You've given this company an X number of years, but this company may not be able to fulfill your ambitions. Create that space for you. Now is the time for you to move and let me help you find that next role. Always remember this, that a leader is always a mentor. Yes, a mentor may not always be a leader, but a leader is always a mentor. A leader is always a guide. Now I'm going to ask you this. Think about your workspace, your office. And I'm talking to those who have bosses and super bosses above them. Are you following somebody who you have assumed to be a leader, but you can see that this person is not displaying any qualities of a good leader? If so, maybe you want to realign your expectations and turn your focus to somebody else in the company who is being an actual leader and nurture your relationship with that person. No, you don't have to be also loyal to your boss. You have to be loyal to your own boss as per the definition of your role. But if they are failing to be a good leader, by all means look in another direction to find yourself the right mentor within your organization. For those who are in leadership position, I'm going to ask you this. How well do you know your team? Every single person on your team. How well do you know their strengths and their weaknesses? How easily can you spot the person in your meeting, in your team weekly review meeting, who's going to succeed in that week and who is going to struggle? And how often are you proactive enough to offer the one who is going to struggle some help? Or are you waiting to see who succeeds and who fails because as a leader, you're in judgment position? As a leader, you believe that, well, I gave them the job, now they need to figure it out. And all I need to do is say, well, you succeeded and you're a loser and you're a failure. If that is what you're doing, then you've misspelt that word completely. And for those of you who want to become leaders, not just succeed and have a designation and, well, lead a team because that's what comes with that space or that's what comes with the job, but because you truly want to be a leader, you need to understand what the role entails. What are the responsibilities you will have to embrace? You will have to own the mistakes of your team. Yes, of course, you can pull somebody up for something that has been done, but you will always be standing on the front line. There is no hiding behind your team. There is no blame game because you don't have anybody to blame but yourself if your team falters or if a member of your team falters. Are you ready and up for ensuring that everybody on your team grows and achieves their ambitions? Well, you don't have to live it for them, but you definitely have to guide them. And like I said, sometimes guiding them involves cutting the umbilical cord, so to say. Cutting that cord of loyalty, setting them free to do what they need to do to grow in their career and fulfill their ambitions. Without burning bridges, without holding grudges. What we often fail to see is that leadership demands a certain amount of selflessness from the individual. It demands that you always look at the bigger picture and yet never lose sight of the details. It demands that you have the foresight and you are able to preempt certain things that are going to block your path. It demands that you delegate and demand of your team just as you are willing to deliver. And lastly, being a good leader requires you to build an atmosphere of equality in your team and to earn the respect and trust of your team members by showing up, by being present, and by being a guide. In simple words, you also have to embrace the fact that you will have to be the problem solver, crisis manager, the damage controller, no matter whose fault it is. And if you are somebody who is prone to blaming everybody else or whining about spilt milk or creating big scenes about things when they go wrong, then that's the habit that you need to start changing. Leaders demand a lot from their team, but they also rise up to the same standards. And as I work with more and more corporates, as I work with more people, helping them achieve certain work goals of theirs, helping them build something within an organization, helping them build their own career path, the one thing that I realize is most people who wish to be in leadership positions haven't learned how to spell the word leadership. Don't just read those self-help books, those motivational books, those books by business gurus. Make notes. implement them, and change your actions. So, once again, just because you are in a managerial position or in a leadership position does not mean that you are a good leader. There are more episodes that are going to come forth in this particular A to Z series, which will help you build certain leadership mindsets and also learn some of those qualities, imbibe them, learn some leadership skills as well. So listen carefully, tune in regularly. And if you're wondering how and where you can listen to the previous episodes, well, they're all available on the IVM Podcast app and the IVM website. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle is IVM Podcasts. As for me, if you would like to send me a DM to tell me whether you enjoyed this episode or not, whether you found it helpful or not, you can DM me on Instagram. My handle is Positivity Angel.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Cred, thewholetruthfoods.com, and Seat Tires. We really do appreciate the support. So the last year's been tough for all of us, and the second wave of COVID really hit us badly. To help those affected by the pandemic in India, the podcasting community has come together under the Pod for Change banner to raise funds through an exclusive NGO partner, Give India. Join IVM and Pod for Change as we look to make a positive impact in the life of those affected by COVID-19. You can go to tinyurl.com/podforchangeindia, and remember, somebody could really use the help. And now back to the promo. On the Simplified podcast, the gang explains the oxygen crisis happening in the country and tells us the various measures being taken to tackle it. On States of Anarchy, Hamsani Hariharan talks about how the geopolitical relationships shaped COVID response and the world order. As Indians, we're all familiar with acid reflux or heartburn given the spicy food we consume. On The Habit Coach, Ashton has some simple solutions to counter that. Vatsama Moria explores the iconic neighborhood of Dadar and tells us its connection to outer space in Postcards from Nowhere. It was Dangle time on The Fighting Goat as hosts Somesh and Arjun were joined by unbeaten MMA fighter and Commonwealth gold medalist Ritu Fogart. The traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh shares examples of various innovations that came up during the COVID times and helped us deal with the situation. And with that, we hope to see you again next week.
Do you know Tamil? Tamil puriyuma? Do your children enjoy great stories that inculcate good values? Hi, I am Ravishankar Balachandran and I host the Storytime Tamil podcast. I am excited to share a short story with great moral values every day. Listen to Storytime Tamil on the IVM Podcast app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from.